Thank you, Dr. Annamalai. Thank you, Venkatesh sir, for giving us this opportunity and setting us up for this week's writing. So my topic is for today is choose the right study, grant writing, and methodology. So the basic idea until now is for literature review and what kind of how do you do the literature review. So this applies the literature review. The previous two talks applies both to your paper writing skills and also for your grant writing skills. Particularly for grant writing, you will also have to think about what is trending. You cannot go think about a topic for a grant which is about 5 years old. You will have to know what is the current topic that is trending, because the people who are going to give you the grant need a explanation for something that are not known or something that is in trend right now. So to find out what is trending, you can use this website called clinicaltrials.gov, and it's a public data set where you can go give your condition or a disease, say suppose for example retinal detachment that I want to focus on. You will get the latest grants that are present for a completed study or a recruiting study or a not yet recruiting study. So this website will give you the latest that has been available in the center of or region of interest of your particular research topic. And the study design, which is your main blueprint of your research, will determine your validity of the study, your reliability, and also the generalizability of your findings. So choosing the right design is crucial for achieving the research objectives effectively that you have put it up in your grant or your methodology. So in order to identify the funding opportunity, where do I get the money from or for what reason I get it from, you will have to look at, focus on eye health organizations that are there in the federal, the US market, and also private grantors like your private NGOs that are there, which are providing grants for your eye health. You can also look at research foundations, which are disease-specific organizations and or professional associations like your Cornea Society, like the Vitreoretinal Retinal Society. They are professional associations which have grant funding available for individual studies that can be done for a smaller amount. For greater amount, where you need to do on a larger scale, you can always look into like your National Eye Institute or your NIH grants or your DBT or your local Indian grants are available, which is there for any uptake that is there. You'll also have to check your eligibility criteria and the target population where these funding opportunities are present for. Suppose if your NIH grant that you're giving in the US gives you a grant amount of $200,000, but they might have an eligibility criteria that non-US entities are not encouraged. So you'll also have to look out for all those eligibility criteria and the target population where they are going to do the study. And you'll have to match your project to the right funding source. The right funding source means you cannot expect $200,000 for a project and then do a small study. So you will have to always find a correct matching source. So first, once you've got your grant, this is what I'm going to apply for. Then you will have to understand what your research question is going to be. So the research question is your main fundamental aim that you want to achieve at the end of whatever the grant period is going to be. So the research question has to be exploratory or descriptive, explanatory or evaluative. So depending on these differences, you will have to clearly define a research question. And this will guide you to the choice of study design and methodology that you're going to undergo for the grant or your research paper. So, for example, this was in 2016 to 2019, a grant project that we did in Arundhati Hospital, Tirunelveli. This was from a Queen Elizabeth Diamond Jubilee Trust. We received a grant amount for diabetic retinopathy screening using non-mydriatic fundus camera. So the title was Integrating DR Screening in Primary Health Centers in Tirunelveli District. But your specific aim was setting up a reading and grading center in government medical colleges in Tirunelveli post the study time. So we did not want the study to stop after the study period. We wanted it to continue. So it was actually a capacity building exercise for the government health system with the diabetic retinopathy screening as your main criteria. And a similar project like the retinopathy of prematurity project that we did in Arundhati Hospital, Tirunelveli. This was again, although trained ROP screening experts are available in urban cities, they were non-existent in rural areas like around Tirunelveli. So there was a lacking in providing care for ROP. So these are specific aims to identify, which we identified. This is what we are going to work on. So we did not think about fitting our research question to the grant. We got a research question first and then tried to find a grant for that particular research question. So that's a huge difference between two. So once you go into the web and find the grant that is available, say January 2025 is the last date to apply for the grant. You cannot run around saying that the grant is available, I'll now start forming a research question. You'll always have to think about having a research question first and then going about a grant. And your study designs from the research questions will be either experimental, which will establish a cause and effect relationship through a controlled intervention. For example, if you say intravitreal injections for diabetic macular edema, the cause is diabetes, the effect is resolution of your macular edema through a controlled intervention like a intravitreal injection. If it is going to be observational, you just observe the diabetic macular edema without intervening. If it is going to be cross-sectional, it examines a snapshot of a population at a single point of time. Today, how many people underwent intravitreal injections for diabetic macular edema? Or that particular patient on October 28th, what did he undertake? If it is going to be longitudinal, the same patient, if you're going to give an injection today, what happened to him next month, what happened to him after that, it longitudinally, you extend the period of observation so that you can enroll him in different studies. So these are different types of study designs that you have to think about. Where do you want to fit your question to? Once you identified which grant, which research question, then you'll always have to go ahead and plan your project aim and objective. You'll have to always state your project's overall goal in a concise and achievable way. You cannot extrapolate or hypothesize a goal and say that you will hope to accomplish it at the end of 4 years. So you'll always have to have a specific and achievable goal. And you'll also have to break down the goal into specific and measurable objectives. They are called as metrics. So if you, for example, if you say I want to undertake a study for diabetic macular edema by intravitreal injections, you'll have to say what is the specific measurable objective. Reduction of macular edema. Reduction of macular edema detected by an OCT. Reduction of macular edema by an intravitreal injection of what carat. So all these are specific measurable objectives that you'll have to think about and write in your grant so that people will identify with what your metrics are going to be, and at the end of the project, are those metrics achieved or not. So you'll have to ensure your projects align with the identified problem and address the unmet need. Some of the questions will have a different answer at the end of the project that you can adjust according to your hypothesis that you are presenting in your methodology. You'll have to prioritize objectives based on the feasibility and the potential impact. And you'll have to prioritize means my aim 1 is this, my aim 2 is this, my aim 3 is this. So you'll have to prioritize which is your first aim, which is your secondary aims, and different objectives like that. In describing the innovative approach and methodology for your particular grant, you'll have to explain your proposed solution in a clear and concise. So this I already done. So suppose, for example, this grant we wrote in 2022 for Center for Ophthalmology Data Analytics at Aravind. So if you look at this grant's title, it is not clear that what are we going to do. So by just the title, you cannot understand what it is going to be. So you'll have to give a research proposal in a way that the people understand what all does the grant research proposal consist of. For example, this will consist an introduction about what is the grant about, your project question or the hypothesis, your project design and methods. Under your project design methods, you will have working cost proposal 1, WPT2, WP3, WP4. So this will include what all you're going to do under each heading and your strength and weaknesses of the project plan, what is going to happen, and role of all the partners and the collaborators with your references. So this is going to be your grant proposal that you're going to show. In case if you have to see about the specific aims you're going to write about, you will have to go ahead if you're going to have a single aim. See, aim is just going to be single. But if you want to divide your aim into particular aims, different aims, you can do that. You will also have to address what the differences are going to be. And you'll have to give it a detailed representation of what your specific aims are and how are you going to achieve it with your milestones and other objectives clearly stated. So in choosing a design for the question that you have researched for your grant, you'll have to know how much time you have for data collection and analysis, what are the budgets, what are the equipment, and what are the personnel available, and you ensure your design aligns with the ethical guidelines and regulations. So once you have all this, you will have to always look at your local research committee and ethics committee board in order to get a pre-grant submission proposal evaluation. So that is like, in case if you're going to have an internal ethical consideration where you have to send data from here to the US, it is not possible to do so. So then your grant writing ends there only. But in case if they give you a permission to do that, you can go ahead and write your grant after you get an initial proposal evaluation. So this is very important so that you do not waste your research time by going after something that you cannot do. And you will have to match your methodology by using quantitative, qualitative, or mixed methods. The quantitative method is ideal for testing a hypothesis and examining relationships between variables. A qualitative is suitable for exploring complex phenomena, attitudes, and behaviors in depth. A mixed methods offers flexibility to triangulate findings and provide a holistic understanding between quantitative and qualitative design. Some of the practical considerations, you'll have to determine the appropriate sample size and sampling method to ensure all the parts of the population curve is represented. The data collection has to be through a reliable instruments, surveys, interviews, or observation. And the analysis, you'll have to employ appropriate statistical tests or qualitative techniques for robust analysis. So all this you're going to do after you've collected and after you've submitted your grant and you've received the grant. But in representing the grant proposal to the grantees, you also have to explain this is how you're going to do once you get the grant. So you cannot always say we'll submit the grant and later think about the statistics, data connection, and data analysis. No. All the data collection part, data analysis part, sampling part has to be clearly written in the grant proposal. And we'll have to always follow what is written and what is followed. It has to be same. If there is going to be a mismatch between the milestone that you're achieving in your data collection and data analysis, then the grantees are not going to be pleased with your outcome. So in order to demonstrate the feasibility and the potential impact of the project, you'll have to project a realistic timeline for the project completion. So you do not have to think about rushing things. You always are welcome to extend your deliverables by saying that you're unable to complete it due to a considerate reason. So once you have that, then you'll have to be specific about the milestones and deliverables. You'll have to identify potential challenges and mitigation strategies. So I'll explain it to you later. So, and you'll also have to quantify the expected impact of your project. How many people will benefit? What are the economic and social returns because of your projects? If it's going to be a public health initiative. You'll have to connect your project to broader goals in eye care and how will it contribute to improve health outcomes or system level change. So this is again in a public health perspective. You'll also have to think about how your project is going to help the eye care community as such. So if you take this chart, for example, this is a project plan for the CODA project. So if you look at this, the work plan 1, 2, 3, and 4, each of these has a task that has been assigned to one particular person. And that one particular person has a deliverable that has to be submitted. And the type of deliverable is added in the appendix. So if suppose I have to data sources inventory, I have been delegated that and I have to do it in quarter 2 and 3. Then I'll have to submit a report called M18 that I've already submitted in the research proposal, that this is how the report is going to be. So based on the thoroughness of how you're going to foresee what is the question that is going to be asked and what are your outcomes going to be, that is how far your grant proposal gets accepted. So you'll also have to think about what are the other things, say suppose like something called a mitigation analysis. The mitigation analysis is suppose if your ethical approval is taking long due to privacy concern and because it's a new technology or a new technique that you want to see, if the impact is going to be high and the probability of this happening is going to be medium, then what are the mitigations that you are addressing? So if this is going to happen, then I'm going to start immediately with research protocol, understand if specific consent is necessary, define a data access policy, start work with open data, and start real use cases later in the project. So this is my mitigation for this particular description. Like that, what all are the hurdles that you can foresee in your project? You'll have to write it down, and then you'll have to think about how are you going to address those problems in case if it happens. So suppose in 2025 you have COVID coming again, then what are you going to do? So all those are hurdles that can come up in your data and your data analysis and your project plan. So you'll have to always think about how you're going to mitigate these. So these are some of the plans for how do you write a grant proposal And once you've done this, you'll also have to think about writing a good story. So people should think that only this person is capable of doing this project, and I would recommend that the grant be given to him. So that is how they should think about your research narrative. It should be having good clarity, conciseness, and logical flow of information. It has to have an engaging introduction and problem statement. It should have a strong methodology section with clear data analysis plan. It has to highlight a potential impact and future application of the project even after the project gets completed. You'll also have to think about assembling a team for the grant project. You'll have to identify key personnel with expertise and experience. You have to think about who the collaborators are going to be, who the researchers are, advisors, statisticians, whoever are going to help you in this project, right from Kumavi sister to everybody, statistician, everybody has to be there kept in the team for the grant project, and you'll have to clearly define their roles and responsibilities beforehand. And following the specific guidelines and formatting instructions that are there for that particular grant by using strong verbs, active voice, concise language. You can right now start using ChatGPT for all your grant proposals. It gives you a good grammatical way of thinking, philosophical way of thinking. If you have an abstract that you need to get it corrected, please use ChatGPT. Do not listen to others who say that why don't you use your brains and not ChatGPT. You have to use this because that is the future that is going to come up. And you'll also think about proofreading and editing for accuracy and clarity that is going to be there in your grant rating. Ask 2 or 3 of your seniors to have a look at it. They will have their own inputs to give for corrections. So you will also have to think about asking help from others. So then you tailor the content to your specific audience and opportunity. Suppose you have written a grant for the National Institute of Health in the US. You got rejected. If you're going to apply it in India, then you tailor the content according to the strategy where you want to apply, to which place you want to apply according to the population. You'll have to use visuals and data effectively to enhance your message. Wherever you can, you put in a flowchart, a colorful diagram to make sure that you get the flowchart across to the person. By looking at it, you will have to think about what your flow is going to be. And you'll have to practice your presentation and be prepared to answer any questions from reviewers if you want. So, and also you'll have to think about time. So if you take a look at the first two projects I did it in a gap of 6 months. Within a gap of 6 months, I was able to write up with 2 grants. But the next third grant from 2019 to 2024, it is almost about 5 years difference between writing 2 grants. So you also have to think about grant writing needn't be that you look at a grant and you want to write a grant. It is about the need. If there is going to be a need that you're going to be passionate on, if you're thinking that this grant will benefit the population where I am working, or if it is going to enhance my career in such a way, then you will always have a urge to do it. So time is not a constraint. So whoever is thinking about what my excuse is, please have a look at this video. So this is from a simulation of 1,000 people's lives in an American day. So when you look at 8:30 in the morning, about 29% at work, 10% sleeping, 15% at leisure. If you look at education, it is only about 5%. But as day goes by, 11:30, 12, the three most populous areas that you're going to see are leisure, work, sleeping, housework, and education to a little extent. So as evening progresses, the same will get inversely populated. So you will see more of sleeping, more of leisure, less of work. So if you look at all this, you know what a typical day-to-day is going to happen for each and every person. So whatever is your excuse, please try to find a passion that you want to be involved in. Try to get a grant or write a manuscript to present elsewhere. Thank you very much.